And that sound means it's the start of another missile for the masses. I am your host, Gary.
And I'm Casey.
And this is the Chaplain's Assistance Motor Pod. This is the podcast that's centered around the vehicles, playsets, and even trailers of the G.I. Joe, a real American hero toy line from 1982 to the present day. We also talk G.I. Joe and connected comics, and sometimes figures and other military and adventure toy lines and their respective comic books sometimes as well. And good evening, Casey. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. Had a great day.
Your dog.
Oh, I know.
I'm not editing
she's
that
a little
out.
whiny today, but no, Molly's part of the show. Ain't that right, sweetie? She likes attention. But no, I've had a great day. Had a great stream this morning with the guys. I got to watch Ronnie Trickshot and Shark Eyes do their live stream tonight. Just chat's full of legends. I mean, it was so fun. I've had a great day and excited to do this tonight.
Cool, yeah. And I heard, and just before the show, you had some big news. Why don't you share it for the rest of the listeners?
Podcast from the Pit has reached their 250th sub. Very exciting. I know 250 doesn't sound like a lot for a lot of the 20,000 sub, but it's a. I felt like we've earned every sub we've got. It's a slow process, but I love every sub that we got, and the community that watches us, they consider us to be like Saturday morning cartoons, and just reading some of the things they say, I'm pretty proud of it.
Yeah, well, like I've said before, you put in the work, you do a good job, and you guys have a warm and inviting atmosphere. So, all the props to you for being successful, because it is. You're becoming a successful show, and you're doing it, and all the congratulations to you, Casey, and your team,
Appreciate it.
Eric and
Yeah.
Matt, and all your regular guests, and then some.
A lot of people are like, "Is Ronnie part of the show?" Pretty much, but he's got his own thing, and he comes on whenever we need him. And honestly, he's kind of like our fourth guy.
So yeah, no, it's been not really too much. It's been 2 weeks. Managed to edit an episode and then release it, and then I guess on a couple of Long Box Crusade episodes that are going to be coming out sometime this year. They record a lot in advance, and it's always fun. It's always fun to be chatting with friends and talking about GI Joe and and in one case Indiana Jones comic books. And spoiler alert, involved Herb Trimpe, and you might be a fan of Trimpe's art, and it was a good showcase of that. So
Now, Indiana Jones, I know we're GI Joe, but Indiana Jones, was that just the Marvel run, or was there different ones?
he's covering Gerald Albrecht is covering the Marvel run from the early 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just released his 8th episode of that. It's a monthly show, and he sent me a copy of the book, through the email. And let me tell you, I was actually really impressed with what I read, because I will say this: Indiana Jones isn't on my comic book radar normally. Now it kind of is, because I really enjoyed what I read.
I've read quite a few of those Marvel ones when I was younger, and I really liked them. I mean, I couldn't tell you the storylines now, but you got me interested. Might have to see if I can find some.
Yeah, if you've read them before, Casey, like I said, there's 8 episodes for you to listen to and catch up on.
Yeah.
It's a nice little quick show. It's only about an hour. It's half an hour to an hour each episode, and it's a good listen. And well, anyway, so a little bit more. So anything else going on in your life of collecting to share, or?
Oh man, I've gotten so much Motu. Uh, actually, gonna have some Motu stuff for the channel coming up pretty soon. But big in on the cartoon collection. I got my first from the Super 7 line they did. I got the Skeletor. Basically, I had some credit left over from when I sold my classifieds. So I got me a bunch of Motu with that. And now I don't have any more credit.
Hey, yeah, no. I've just been playing with the Super 7 O-rings. My
Mm-hmm.
Duke came in, my Serpentor came in. Uh, I ordered a pair those guys off of the Super 7 website, and just been playing around with them. Posted on online the comparison shots, and I will
Mm-hmm.
tell you, people are very opinionated about Serpentor.
Yeah. I think it looks good.
Some people are not of that opinion, Casey.
Yeah. Well, I still haven't opened mine yet because I'm looking for some. I don't have any stands for them. And so the other ones I just got laying down, and I like how they look. So I want, and I know only you can see these,
Yeah,
but I like how they look, and I want to display them. So I'm trying to find some stands. I'm out of stands.
yeah. I gotta say the Duke, they finally got the head right,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't. It only took me like a day of playing with it outside of the package, and then I cracked open the screw and I swapped heads around, and I posted on
I seen
Instagram.
those. Yeah,
Yeah, I posted on Instagram my ideal Duke version 1. It's Super 7 head because it's much more Sunbow accurate. It doesn't look like the thumb of
yeah,
version 1. And I use the version 1 torso and arms, and I use the retro O-ring waist and pants. So adding those 3 figures, I finally got a version 1 Duke I'm actually like happy to play display with. It looks heroic. He looks like, and the other thing is I can bend his knees and sit him down, and I don't need to worry about him breaking. And if I do, who cares? He's really cheap because he's such a crappy head figure. He's got the world's derpiest head ever on an action figure.
they've struggled with Duke heads, like the screaming one. My God, that's horrible. There's a couple of different ones that he's screaming, and I can't stand any of them. Probably the best Duke head, and I'm not a classified guy, but was a classified Duke. I thought that was a nice head sculpt.
Uh, the I will admit the version 1 Duke, and then I believe they did that. What do they did that paint variation? I can't think of the field variant with the where they took the gold. They painted the gold stuff like
Yeah.
a bronze, a non-metallic like brown,
Hmm.
and that was probably the best Duke figure Hasbro has ever released.
Yeah.
That I could say I'm like happy with. So
I like the one with the gold because I felt like, you know, you got your updates. Plus, this gun wasn't Nerf gun like Roblox. Once you start doing that, you lose me. But I thought the Duke was great.
yeah, I think overall, yeah, they really the opening salvo of classified was really good figures, but they just literally they nerfed the guns, and that
Hmm.
was but they did that because they were trying to tie into that video game,
Yeah.
Operation Blackout. So
Yeah. Live
yeah,
and learn.
yeah. Well, they seem to have gotten classified figured out, and they've seemed to have gotten the audience figured out. So
Right.
good for them
Yeah. They're
as they,
doing well.
yeah, moving away from toys allegedly and going to
But
I
then you see all the future releases coming. So I don't know what to think about that. Uh, Even though I don't really get a whole lot of classified, I get like one out every 15. I don't want it to go away because I have so many friends who love them. And it doesn't hurt me that they're selling them, you know what I mean?
yeah.
So if my friends could be happy with them. I hope they make them, and as long as they can.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to a classified Globulus. I'm looking forward to a classified Pythona and a classified Royal Guard, classified Skuxoid, and
That would be
oh,
awesome.
but but I will say that I did make sure that the announcement was for Marvel Legends. I called my local comic book shop and I says, "Tell me, tell me, tell me you got Rom on pre-order." And he said, "Yes, I do." And I said, "By gods of Galador, put it in my pull doc. By the gods of Galador, put it in my pull box." And he said, "Done." So I got my Rom coming, and I'm excited about that.
I'm really thinking about ordering one, but I don't know. May have to wait a little bit.
It's fine. I'm wondering how niche he's going to be. But, it's like, is he gonna be like the peg warmer at, like, Target and Walmart? Because nobody
I
knows
hope
who
so.
Rom is?
Put them on clearance so I can get them.
But, yeah. So, well, we're kinda talking about other Hasbro properties, and you know what other Hasbro properties reminded me of, Casey?
What's that?
The Energon universe.
There we go.
Now back to G.I. Joe.
Yes, can you believe it? It's been a long time since we've talked about this. Well, actually, you and I have talked about this, behind the scenes in texts. But what we haven't done is talked about it on the show because we keep putting it off for reasons. But we decided
Yeah.
finally, we're far enough behind that it's going to really stink catching up. So we might as well start doing it now. We are talking this week about August, August 2023 Energon Universe by Skybound Entertainment, courtesy of Image Comics. And just to remind people up front, we are talking about Scarlet number 3, Transformers number 11, Destro number 3, and Void Rivals number 12. And up front, we're going to be spoiling these. You guys have had 6 months to read them.
Yeah. If we're spoiling them, that's really kind of on them.
Yeah. If you've been waiting to read the next issues because we haven't talked about them yet, because I'll tell you this, Casey, I haven't listened to podcasts because we haven't talked about these yet.
Yeah. I've got friends' shows I really want to listen to, but I don't want to listen to them until we do it.
Yeah. Our podcast players, you have run out of room. Oh crap. I guess we gotta do it. All right. So Casey, we're gonna start off with Scarlet number 3. It was released August 7th. Kelly Thompson is the writer. Marco Ferrari is the artist. Lee Luffride is the colorist. And Russ Wooten is the letterer. And we're going to talk about cover A. And Casey, you got cover A in front of you, correct?
Just
And
cover A.
yep. And the cover A is by Marco Ferrari and Lee Luffridge. And do you want to describe to the listeners what we're looking at on the cover A?
We are looking at Scarlet and Jinx being surrounded by what looks like a scene out of Kill Bill. Bunch of thugs with swords, katanas, and some chains. Looks like they're in a city block, which is weird because all the action's in one, basically two buildings.
Yeah.
I do like the fact that the only color on here is the yellow highlight in the background and Scarlet and Jinx. Everybody else is in like a muted purple gray kind of. I actually dig the cover.
Yep. It's a nice. I got to agree with you. Their kind of backs are kind of towards each other. You're getting Scarlett's in her infiltration white outfit, courtesy of the Rashikage, and you got Jinx in her like red kimono. She's got the long gloves, the up to her elbow with her arm tattoo showing, and she's got her fishnet stockings going into her boots, which also happen to be high heels. So I don't know. She looks a little bit stylish, while Scarlett looks a little more tactical.
More practical.
Yeah, tactical, practical.
The high heels and knee pads.
Hey, got to accessorize.
Yeah, but they are color coordinated, so I guess
Yeah.
she got that.
I like how Jinx has her sword still sheathed, while Scarlet has drawn her sword, but Jinx is just like playing it like uber cool.
Yeah, but she ain't worried.
Yeah, she's not worried at all. But yeah, I agree, it's a great cover. But let's get into the book. We pick up where we left off in issue 2 with Scarlet jumping into the shark aquarium. The Yakuza have been ordered to take her alive, but she has no such restrictions. She exits the tank and enters a control room where she takes out the 3 operators. Upon leaving, she happens across another team trying to capture her. She uses her sword, taking them out, but she gets stabbed in the beginning of the process. She reaches the sub basement where she accomplishes her primary mission, blowing up the power supply for the security system for the entire building complex so that Jinx and Storm Shadow can retrieve the weapon. She escapes by climbing her way back up to the top of the building and launching a roped arrow so that she can swing to the other tower where Jinx and Storm Shadow are. When she arrives, the buyer of the weapon has just arrived. It's a helicopter bearing the Cobra sigil. Okay, Casey, what did you think?
I really felt like it had the action that you would look for in a story like this. Uh, I'm not the biggest fan of the art. It's not really my style, but I think it fits the writing, so I really don't have any complaints about that. I don't think it fits for Scarlet, but I wouldn't want to see a team book drawn this way, if that makes sense to you, because I don't know if they can do all the other characters the way I would want them. But the action's there. Story was pretty good. She does get stabbed twice in this book.
Well, that's right. I'm going to disagree with you because I am a fan of the manga style art on this book. I think it's done very well. I think it fits what they're trying to do with the book. I do agree with you. It might not be the fit for a Team GI Joe book, and also I think it also could also be overused. Because if you get a Storm Shadow book, they're gonna maybe call up this guy again. You get a Snake
Right.
Eyes book, they're gonna call up this guy again. And you know, this is kind of something that Devil's Due started with that gosh, I can't think of that they did that graphic novel. That Arashikage Strike, I want to say. I'm blanking.
I don't know if I read that.
Yeah, it wasn't really common back in the day. But it's out there, and that was Josh Blaylock joint, and but like you said, the art I actually liked it. I think it's fitting. I'm not opposed to seeing
Yeah.
it every so often.
No, it fits the story.
Yeah, I
No
felt
problem with that.
yeah, I actually wasn't a huge fan of the writing of the book. I think the characters' dialogue was good, but everything just seemed to be drawn out. Like, I think this could have been edited down shorter to have more story. I felt that the getting from A to B, from the beginning of the book to the ending of the book, just felt like a little padded, because they know this is going to be a 5-issue mini. You're in
Mm-hmm.
issue number 3, and this is really the middle chapter of that trade paperback that's already out there in stores. But so that was my biggest criticism. It was just like it just felt like there was filler in there, or they were they were letting things breathe that didn't need to be breathing. It's like beat to beat to beat to beat. It's it wasn't like a Real American Hero 313 where the breathing was bringing a sense of dread, bringing it,
Yeah.
a sense of heaviness to the book. This is like supposed to be an action-packed book, like bang, 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 boom. And it just felt like I wasn't feeling that frenetic energy.
I think why I like it, and part of the reason why overall I've kind of liked this series is I get a show I used to love, Alias. I get an Alias feel from reading this book. You know, maybe because Scarlett and Jennifer Gardner's character on there. I don't know, but I love that show, and I just get that feel to it. Maybe I looked for it. I don't know, but I do enjoy it.
Okay. Yeah. It's just the like you have a couple cutaways to like Jinx and Storm Shadow in the middle of the book. Kind of like at this point, like if you're a new reader, if you're picking up Scarlet #3 and it's your first issue that you're picking up, it's kind of like the placeholder of like, okay, this is what's going on a little bit. But for the most part, that could have been a that could have been saved to the end as part of the reveal, like, oh yeah, thank you, blah blah blah, you accomplished the mission. They could have like I just felt like the structure could have been moved a little bit. I mean, it's competently drawn, it's competently written, but I don't know. I've read this book probably 4 times since I've gotten it, and
Hmm.
each time I don't know why it just feels like it's always been a little bit of a chore for me.
I was because I just reread this today because it's been a while, and I pretty much liked it better on the reread.
What do you say? You want to wrap up a rating on the book?
Sure.
All right, I'll go first.
Okay.
Seeing as how I'm the downer, I'll try to leave things on the upper. To me, this is like a 2.5. It is mid. It is not bad. It's not great. It's average. I just that's where I'm at on this one.
Yeah, and I can see all that. No arguments. I enjoyed it a little bit better than that. I would give it a solid 3, and that's just because they all can't be winners. You know.
No, hey, I'm not complaining. I'm just that's
Yeah.
these are our opinions.
Yep.
Like somebody on Andy Kubert art.
Yeah. Hey, I didn't like one cover. One cover.
Let's move on to Transformers #11 from August 14th. Daniel Warren Johnson, the writer, Jorge Corona, the artist, Mike Spicer, the colorist, and Russ Wooten on letters. And cover A, Casey, you want to take us through the description?
It is Shockwave and Optimus Prime fighting up close. It's nicer than that Kubert cover that you were talking about. Uh, I really like all the detail and just how beat up these Transformers are getting through all these fights that they're having. Not everybody just sparkling the next day. Hey, I just had my arm shot off, but look at me, I'm fine. No, they're showing wear and tear. They're staying true to their story, and I really like it.
Yeah. And just to credit where credit is due, this is the Daniel Warren Johnson cover and Mike Spicer on colors. So yeah, I agree. It's solid. I love the use of colors. I love, like you said, I love you still see Megatron's
Mm.
fusion cannon as Optimus's right arm. It's gritty. It's battle, and it definitely imparts that nothing is safe once again
Oh,
in this book. It's a solid cover. I will go on to say, let's go over the rest of the creative team on the interior of this book. That is, oh, wait, I already did that. Never
Yeah.
mind. Okay, well, let's go on with what's going on in the book. And compared to Scarlet, this is a very plot heavy book. We open with a page of Beachcomber surfing his way away from the space bridge / water funnel. His expression conveys his worry of Cybertron being so near. We turn the page and there's RC talking to Ultra Magnus as he lays motionless. Elita 1 assumes RC's motivations, which earns her a punch to the face. Carly wants to know what's going on, but RC doesn't want to talk about it. Prime and Wheeljack show up, and Wheeljack tells of the choice to fix Ultra Magnus or other Autobots, but Magnus gets up and expresses to fight for the Autobots on Earth. The Decepticons are under the leadership of Shockwave. He makes it known first by telling Soundwave to not worry about fixing Ravage, and then tells the three Combaticons to worry about the space bridge, not telling them what befell Onslaught and Brawl. His main worry is an attack by the Autobots with how much Energon the Decepticons have now. Wheeljack exposits about the connection between Earth and Cybertron, specifically the Nemesis and Shockwave's fortress. Carly wants to go rescue Cliffjumper, but Elita angrily asks, but what of the Autobots on Cybertron? Optimus explains that Earth will need the Autobots, and likewise, the Autobots will need the Earth. They go to the Nemesis by being teleported there by Skywarp, leaving Carly behind. Beachcomber surfs back to Spike and Astrotrain. After leaving Astrotrain with some food, Beachcomber and Spike leave for quiet parts unknown. But Spike feels he can't run away, although it feels wrong to fight. We finish up. We go to Shockwave's torture chamber with him, Jazz, and Cliffjumper. Shockwave is about to pluck Cliffjumper's eye when Optimus, Elita 1, and RC arrive. They stop the torture, but due to infighting, lose control of the situation, and Shockwave once again takes Cliffjumper hostage. As he escapes, he tells the Constructicons to form Devastator. Devastator, in his rampage, reveals the portal, and Ultra Magnus and Wheeljack arrive through it. But at the sight of Shockwave, Magnus transforms and drives away. Shockwave gloating that he broke Ultra Magnus's mind.
Yeah, great story. They do not disappoint Transformers ever. And this is from a guy who doesn't collect Transformers, not a big fan of Transformers, but love this book. The art, the colors, the story. These characters I've never cared about. Beachcomber, nobody cares about Beachcomber, but he's pretty cool in the book.
Are you saying you want to get a Transformers Beachcomber, whatever the Voyager class?
Nah, I'm good.
No.
Yeah.
Do you think Beachcomber should have been an All-Striker, not Bumblebee?
Maybe. Yeah.
Oh, maybe Beachcomber can be the Eco Striker. Repaint. Yeah, see? Thinking of some
Always
major.
thinking. Yep.
Yeah, always thinking for Hasbro. Hire me, please. No.
No.
No, don't hire me. Work enough as it is.
Yeah.
Oh boy. But anyway, you were saying about Beachcomber. You care about Beachcomber now, and you never did before.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. I don't want to care about him because I know eventually he's going to get killed. Just like everybody else I like in Transformers. No, just the story's fantastic. I mean, you nail on your synopsis, you nail all the highlights. So, that all being said, the art is beautiful. The colors are just fantastic. It flows. There's really not a whole lot more I could say to that.
Yeah, I gotta go with there's really no big changes for me on Transformers because Daniel Warren Johnson is knocking it out of the park.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind getting comics that are text heavy, and this one kind of is. There's a lot of exposition in this, but there's still a fair amount of action, and it's paced really well, and it's just everything has lasting effects, and it stays that way, and it's just well carried out. the layouts by Jorge Corona, and his art, the way he lays it out and the way he, draws, he's doing a really good job of, you know, having a very similar style to Daniel Warren Johnson. So you don't even notice that the cover's different than the interior.
Right. And it wasn't so jarring when Daniel Warren Johnson stopped drawing it and Jorge took over.
Yeah. And you also got to give a little bit of credit to Mike Spicer, the colorist,
Mm-hmm.
because he's doing, each page, the colors, transmit a theme of, whatever he's trying to do, like cold and warmth. And, there's that scene with Beachcomber and Spike seeing the deer and
Mm-hmm.
Spike remembering that time when Optimus held the dead deer, just learning how fragile life is on Earth, compared to what the Autobots and Decepticons are. They're very durable. They take lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of damage. But here on Earth, we can't. We're little squishy, fleshy things.
Right.
To borrow your
And
favorite character, who's not really in the book at the moment, at this moment.
the picture of Devastator when he's first combined, that is awesome. With the portal in the background, just the colors offset. Then you turn the page and you got a 2-page spread of what is his name? Ultra Magnus.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, oh man, he's gonna come in and just destroy. And now he transforms and runs away.
Yeah, it's just I love the gun. And I want to say something about this double splash page. And you just reminded me of a note that I left not here. But the art style on this book reminds me a lot of Transformers Generation 2 by Marvel, which eventually I'm going to reread. But it's just, I don't know. I like the gritty style, and I like the giant made up, gun, blaster, laser cannon that he's holding. It, I grew up reading comics in the 90s, so this is like totally like I'm totally into it. I love that. I love this
Yeah.
flavor of comic bookiness. I do like my fair share of, war, Charlton War books, but
Mm-hmm.
I also love 90s stuff. It all has its place and it totally fits. So I don't know. This is just like there's nothing really to be down about, I think, on this book. It's just a
No,
solid read,
yeah.
and it's gorgeous to look at, and it's a pleasure to pick up. So why don't you go first on this one?
Right. It's a great continuation from the issue before, and I already know what's happening after this. Spoilers, I'm not gonna say, but I would give this like a 4.25. Did you? Yeah, I'd say about 4.25, just because I know what's coming and what's better, and it's just solid. It's been the most consistent comic in Energon, in my opinion.
Yep. And I'm going to be a little bit behind you. I'm just going to say it's a solid 4 out of 5. It's a really good read. It stands up well on its own, and it's just another winner from this Eisner Award winning series.
Yeah, I mean, and if you look at it, they're just going to flow in trade paperback form. You know what I mean? You're just going to sit down and just burn through them. Like I've read the first trade paperback already, even though I've already read it. Yeah, just so I can keep my floppies in good shape.
Yeah, and that's one way and one reason to collect. Yeah, it's but I'm not. I don't get the trades. I would rather
Mhm.
reread the floppies and just be careful. That's burned me a couple times, but oh well. These are comics. They're meant to be read. They're meant to be enjoyed.
Right. Yeah.
I try to keep them in as good a shape as possible, and c'est la vie. It's not like I'm reading my GI Joe 155s anymore either. But I mean, I read my copy of that, but still, That's like you said, I have, I have the digital edition of the compendium, and I have the compendium. So that's how I read my G.I. Joe comics now. So if I want to go back and reread a Real American Hero from Marvel. But anyway, all right. So we're tangenting back to G.I. Joe, and that must mean we're getting ready to talk about Destro number 3 from August 21st, written by Dan Waters, artist Andrea Milana, colorist Adriano Lucas, and once again, Russ Wooten, the letterer. And Casey, take us through cover A, please.
Okay, cover A is Destro fighting hand to hand with Chameleon. She has a bloody knife. He has a golden gun that's firing. The background is just like a plane, but you got action lines and some smoke. A little preview for the story, I would say. But I enjoy it. I think the cover's pretty good.
Yep. It's by Andre Brisson and Adriano Lucas. And I noticed something just looking at the cover right now. It looks eerily posed like a certain other cover by Andy Kubert.
This is proportioned.
Yeah, just funny.
I like Andy Kubert.
He even has one of the
back
characters.
cover.
Yeah. Do you really think you haven't heard the end of this?
Probably not.
But yeah, I gotta, I love the fact, they're using the classified toy design for Destro, which was, just a mild update of the original version
Mhm.
1, which it's a solid, again, classified figure. And the one thing that I do enjoy with Energon Universe is seeing the new toys on page. So it looks good. And Chameleon, I got to tell you, I'm digging this version of the Chameleon on the cover.
Yeah, me too.
And I think it's funny we don't see her hair, but I think overall, though, it's she's got blood on her knife, which eerily looks like a kitchen knife. But the other thing too is, Destro has a golden gun, and isn't that a James Bond movie?
Man with the golden gun, yes.
Chameleon looks like who's that Spider-Man villain? Who's yellow and black? I'm trying to think. Shocker? I'm not a Spider-Man fan.
Yeah, me either. I think yellow and brown, maybe. That would be
Yeah.
Shocker, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
got like the things on his gloves that shock.
Yep. Yeah. It looks a little bit like that. But yeah, no, it's a solid cover. I like the color effect on his helmet. And yeah, it just everything looks like proper. All right, with that cover out of the way, let's go into this story synopsis. It is Destro emerges from his ancestral tomb to be confronted by Chameleon. Chameleon takes her shot as Destro's tech fails him. They engage in hand-to-hand combat, ending in apparent stalemate as her drones approach. Meanwhile, Mercer and Scrap Iron discuss the new threat, supposed to be from Extensive Enterprises' Crimson Twins, Tomax and Zaymot. Mercer deduces that because this tech is cutting edge, it can't be Extensive Enterprises as they believe more in manpower over technology. We go back to Destro versus the Chameleon as her drones start targeting him, and he attempts to escape in his despoiler, and he's shot down. We get a flashback to how the Destro clan got their masks, selling to all sides in the 17th century in England. And I'm just going to, my quick, you know what? I'm just going to say it right now. Casey, did that remind you of a certain plot line in a certain movie from about 16 years ago?
Maybe I'm more tired than I thought, but no.
So that to me was essentially a retelling of the opening to G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra, where Destro gets
Oh,
the first layered McCullen gets his mask.
Yeah, but they've done this in stories before where they've talked about that.
I know, but I'm just pointing it out because
Yeah,
to me the movie is where they really started that whole tradition of the man in the iron mask and stuff like that.
yeah,
But after that, they use that scene to segue into the final scene. Destro paraphrasing his ancestor's speech to an American general, General Flag.
I love that part. I love this book. Just the whole Destro, just calm, cool, coming out of the tomb. He knew someone was there, and I love that his tech fails him because she's got some what is that, EMF or what's that called?
EMP.
MP. I love all the snow scenes, the fight between them, and the dialogue about how you know he wears a lot of Kevlar. I thought that was pretty funny. Then you get to see her hair. The fight's pretty good.
Well, while you're still looking, I'm going to go. I'll say I really like the Easter egg of Overkill
Hmm.
when she calls in Overkill for the drones. I was like, and the weird part is, I still think of Overkill as the Saw Viper
Yeah.
turned to the cybernetic human in Devil's Due, and when I initially read this, I completely forgot about the talking battle commanders Overkill bat leader. And don't ask me why I have both versions of him. And but still it was a nice little nod because it's like, ooh, what's coming up? Because again, dumb not to spoil anything, but I really did my true impression of Overkill is that Devil's Due interpretation
Yeah.
and the toy from the mid 2000s. Uh yeah, I got to say the fight between Destro and Chameleon was well done. I thought Mercer being like a little bit of a detective, that was a great character trait to throw into this character that
Yes.
again because we know him from 1987 and 1991 of this guy who defects from Cobra, is just like another part of his character story and watching where it's going to go next. And yeah, it was solid storytelling. And I would also say that on my reread this afternoon, I liked it more than I initially did.
I think the 2 pages of the dialogue between Mercer and Scrap Iron, I thought that was great. How he was talking about how the bomb was a dud, and he's like, "It's not. It's you're holding a live bomb." I thought that was pretty good. So you got to wonder why it didn't blow up. It was set not to.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder about what's going, like who this overkill person or thing is.
Hmm.
And it's interesting because I like GI Joe when it's more than just GI Joe versus Cobra. I like there being third parties like the Dreadnoks and whoever this overkill team is going to end up being. So, and I like the chameleon thing. It's this is the first time really seeing chameleon. That was like a at the end of issue 2, that was the cliffhanger.
Hmm. So classified figure chameleon, you buy it?
No, no, I
No,
wouldn't get. But if they made an O-ring,
I would probably buy the classified because it would be a figure I've never had. That is my biggest issue with classifieds. I've already got them in the style and my preference is O-ring. I already have 98% of what they're putting out in O-ring, so I'm not going to spend the money on classified.
yeah. Yeah, the I know Chameleon originally was an O-ring figure. It was a reuse of the Baroness mold,
Hmm.
and then her real character breakthrough came through in the IDW Cobra series. With her being like the half sister of the Baroness. So, yeah, I mean, it's got merits. I think as of this issue, there's still a lot of room for the Chameleon to come into her own for this
Hmm.
series. And but the other thing though is that ending with Destro, you know, bas- basically telling the general like, yeah, what are you going to do to me? You buy your weapons from me. What do you think you're going to do to me? Because you put me away, you kill me, you do anything, you bring the United States to a disadvantage.
Yeah, you gonna tell the president that his weapons are not coming anymore? I liked it a lot. I thought it. I say this quite a bit, but I love it when a comic flows. And this, with the beginning of the fight between Chameleon and Destro, you get your 2 pages of Mercer and Scrap Iron. Then you get a couple more pages of the fight between Destro and Chameleon. Then you get to the where he's telling a story about his ancestors and breaking away, pretending to be dead to get away. It was really nice, really nicely done.
At the end gives that character trait of Destro on the chessboard. He's playing chess. He's moving the pieces. He's making himself, a man in power, a man that has positioned himself where he kind of can't be taken out.
Right,
He's that powerful character that you don't want to leave on the chessboard, but you're kind of drawn into you know kind of a stalemate because you can't get rid of him, but you don't want to keep him either.
right.
I'll go first on the rating on this one. Uh, I will say I enjoyed this. I would give this like a 3.5 out of 5. It's a good book. It it was a good reread, and it's definitely above average.
I'll give it a 4 because I liked Scarlet, but I'm enjoying the Destro a lot more. So I've got a one up from the 3 to the 4.
That brings us to the final book for the month of August. The final Energon Universe book for the month of August is Void Rivals number 12, released August 28th. Robert Kirkman, the writer, Lorenzo De Felici, the artist, Patricio Del Pesce, the colorist, and Russ Wooten, once again, the letterer. And Casey, why don't you describe the cover for us for cover A?
All right. I always forget their names. It's like Darok,
Yep.
and her starts with an S.
Yep. So Lila.
Solala. After 12 issues, I still forget them.
I remember her name because I think of that Kiss song, Delilah.
Hmm.
And I just know it's like, oh, I think of Delilah, and then I make it, oh, it's so Lila. It's
Yeah, they're walking away from each other. It looks like, I don't want to say a moon, but on a planet, and you got the beautiful stars in the background. I mean, the colors are awesome. That's one thing. Void Rivals, I think the color's always been really great. Yeah, it's just you can't tell if it's a sad scene or not. They're just walking away from each other.
well, their heads are facing down. They're looking at the ground as their backs are
Hmm.
turned. Their capes, lifted up, maybe because of lack of gravity or something. And you do have that star in the very center of
Yeah.
the picture, making a cross. So this is the final issue in the second arc. I think this cover is fitting for that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it is, like you said, it's beautiful. You're giving Patricio Del Pesce the credit that is due. He's not credited on this cover though. I would think so, but it's the only credit on this is Lorenzo De Felici.
Hmm.
So I really think, but the composition on this, it is very quiet, introspective, and it really sums up what's going on in this book in a single image. And you could also say this is the final frame or the final panel of the book. When you finish the last panel of the book, you could flip back to the cover, and this could be the closing panel.
Yeah, for sure.
And then just go on to the summary. And so we're wrapping up the battle in the wasteland. And first we see Minister Doolin and Premier Zalalak still trying to prevent unity of the ring. And then we go to Proximus recovering, all broken. His body and stuff is broken, but his organic parts are still fine. And then he's joined by a very young cadet named Ultim. And I just, another thing really just going over this is Kirkman's use of names in this book always seems to me have like, there's a sense of power or foreboding in each name. Like with all the characters around Solila and Darak. So what does ultimate, ultimatum, what, Kirkman doesn't introduce characters that don't have lasting repercussions to the story. So I'm just wondering, what that brings to the table there. But anyway, so we then go to Solila and Darak talking about their respective future plans. Solila to journey towards Zerda, and Darak taking the data back to the Agoran unifiers. Then we go to Skuxoid, my favorite. He's on Monicus. Again, I'm thinking Monaco. There's a lot of fast cars and fast bikes. Retrieving an item, and he's successful, but his success is mixed because he asks himself, what is it for? We go to Darak, gives Handroid to Solila, and remarks he's trading Handroid for Springer.
Yeah.
As they embrace, they let their head jewels, lack of a better term at the moment, touch. It begins to awaken the Titan within the ring, but they part and the Titan closes its eyes again. And I got to say, those last 3 pages of the Titan awakening when their jewels touch was much more impactful on the reread. Casey, how about your thoughts?
Like I said earlier, when you do the synopsis, you hit all the parts. All I can say for this story is the characters are, like Proximus. At first, I don't know what to think of him. Now, it looks like he's going to have a bond with this kid. What was his name? You just said Ultim. Ultim. Now, if I remember right, it's been a while since I've read it. Ultim was in the comic like a few issues back. He was part of a group that was helping the 2 main characters get away. But I think he got left behind, if I'm remembering right. I need to do a reread. But you can't turn a page without seeing some amazing color work. And the stars are just so awesome. And Skuxoid, I like him too. You think what's his character add to it? It adds some comedy, but it also adds some sadness.
Yeah, it's Skunksoid is like very real. He's
Mhm.
almost like, like you said, he's a little bit of everything. He kind of, for a space cosmic book, he kind of
Mhm.
grounds it a little bit. He's, I think he represents the audience. He's like, a middle-aged, you know, treasure hunter or bounty hunter, a little bit of jack of all trades. He's just like this guy just trying to survive. And, he kind of has a tragic backstory now.
Yeah.
And, he's just drawn so well. Lorenzo De Felici, he just hid the emoting in his face and his body language is just powerful. And, you really get the sense on each panel.
Now, if they came out with these in a 1/18 scale, would you collect Wood Rival figures?
You know what the weird thing is? I'm going to say this. I think the Void Rivals figures for me would be better in the 4-inch scale,
Oh, the modern construction?
the
I can
modern
see that.
construction.
Yeah.
And but if Super 7 wants to do a Skuxoid figure, yeah, sign me up. I'll put him
I want,
next to the Fatal Fluffies.
I want a talking hand droid. That's what I want.
Oh, they can make it like you could buy one and put it on your own hand.
Yeah. Be like Thanos' glove or whatever. Except way cooler.
But it's hand droid. Kirkman doesn't, maybe Kirkman is thinking about that. He's like, hey, Hasbro, all the kids are going to want this for Christmas 2025.
Yeah, I've never read Invincible. I would like to, but I've reread Walking Dead a few times, and I'm enjoying this. So Robert Kirkman, I think he does great work.
I will tell you, Invincible is my favorite superhero comic book of all time. I'm not a huge fan of like Superman. I'm not a huge fan of most, most comic book superhero books. I like the street level guys like Daredevil and Power Man Iron Fist. But like Invincible was heads and shoulders. It's like Walking Dead got me into reading Invincible, and it was just like it blows me away. They're like to me they're like chocolate and peanut butter. It's just they're both gorgeous books, well drawn. They're different, but
Oh
they're
yeah,
awesome. This book with Lorenzo De Felici reminds me of his book Oblivion Song, which I think you would enjoy as well, Casey. Mainly because De Felici is the artist on that as well, but it's it's kind of like this book. It's otherworldly and it's just, but it's more organic. It's a lot more techno organic than this. This is much more techno than organic.
yeah.
And, I just really like how this final chapter is the characters. They're summing up the last 5 issues. Kirkman is tying up everything into the bow because Kirkman is one that knows how to write for a 6-issue trade, but he also knows how to keep an individual book interesting. Very evident with The Walking Dead. But, it's been a treat with this too. We're in issue 12 of Void Rivals. This is a slow book. I wouldn't say this is a filler issue. It feels a little bit like it in some respects when you talk about it, but it didn't feel like it during the reading.
To me, it feels like if you're watching a movie trilogy, it feels like you're wrapping up the first movie. With how they kind of like ended this issue. Now they're going to go off on these different adventures.
Yeah. It's like you said, it's the end of the first movie, end of the second movie, something like that. We're in the middle of the things. We've just gotten through a big story arc for our heroes. And yeah, like you said, it's just moving on to the next one. I just gotta say the art in this issue is some of the best that's been in the series. Because it's hard to make a, like I said, a talking heads book interesting. There's
Yeah.
always the 22 panels that always work. But this is it on almost steroids. Not a lot of backgrounds, but backgrounds when you need it. I love the guy that Skuxoid is stealing it from, and it's sad because this little 4 pages in the middle of the book to me steal the show, but it's good that it's there because it, like you said, it breaks up the rest of the book. Really not a transformer to be found. You get one panel with,
Springer. Yeah.
and that's about it. That's really, I don't have too much more to say on this book. How about you?
I will say, and it's not necessarily about this book, it's about the series itself. I think it took me about 6 issues to really get to where I liked it. I think it started out slow. I think we talked about that on a different show, but I look forward to it every month now. And maybe I don't know if it's because I don't get that many books anymore, but I really look forward to Void Rivals. I want to see where it goes next because I have, Transformers we know about, GI Joe we know about, Void Rivals we don't know about, so it could go anywhere, and I like that.
Casey, can you rate the book for us, please?
I would get, I'm gonna sound boring here, but I'm gonna give it a 4. I think this month has been, about a 4, but Scarlet brings it down a little bit, so probably about for the whole month a 3.75. But I'd give it a 4.
I'm gonna be again lower than you on this month. I'm sorry, Casey.
That's all right.
I'm at a 3 and 3/4. It's just a little bit. It's above average. But it's a closing chapter. And that's just really where it at. I do like, I still like that era of comic book where every book is its own little special story. I know I'm, you know, being nostalgic for another time, but it's like that thing. It's what you like, and but this is a good book on its own merits, and and that's where I'm at. Casey, why don't you tell me of the 4 books for August of 2023 in the Energon universe, which one was your favorite?
I would say, honestly, the Destro.
All right, and I'm going to say that Destro is very solid, but Daniel Warren Johnson in his Transformers book, to me, was the takeaway winner from this month.
To me, they're so close, but I'm really enjoying the Destro miniseries, and I know I'm going to have more of the Transformers. So,
Well, I guess that wraps up this missile for the masses. And this has been the Chaplain's Assistance Motor Pod, and thank you for listening. The Chaplain's Assistance Motor Pod is hosted by Spotify for Podcasters. It's also found on many of the other popular podcatchers. Please like, share, review, comment, or otherwise interact with them, as it only helps to improve and grow this podcast. For more Chaplain's Assistance Motor Pod, you can find me on social media at Chaplain Joe Pod on Facebook, Instagram, X, even YouTube, where the podcast is also streaming now. Or you can send an email to chaplainjoepod@gmail.com.
and if you want to see any more from me and Podcast from the Pit, you can check us out on YouTube. We'd always use some more subs. Give us a shot. We're just a lighthearted group, positively talks about G.I. Joe and other toy lines. We have a really good Facebook group, Instagram, posts on there, mostly just for upcoming shows. And we always have amazing guests on. Gary's been on a couple times. So, yeah, sometimes we even post on X. Not a lot, sometimes. Mostly we're YouTube and Instagram, Facebook. If you want to email me, you can get a hold of me at podcastfromthepit@gmail.com.
All right. And the Chops and Sisters Motorpod is the strange, but not as strange, nerdy little brother of the pint, a pop culture podcast. And we never want to be late saying that. And with all of that said and done, one final missile for the masses: be decent to one another.
Take care, everybody.
As we finish each one, I put it back in the bag on the board.
My stack was still where I left it 3 or 4 months ago because we were going to do this. So I just had to walk over to where I left the stack.
Yeah. I keep all mine. I sort every one of mine in order, and I keep all the ones that we're going to review out. So now I can put these away at the end. That'll be nice after I cut. Oh yeah, I still have to do the thumbnail for this too. Oh well, I'll figure something out, I'm sure. All right, I'm just looking to see if I can find that one comment. Long story short, there was somebody that agreed with you that that they didn't like Andy Kupert's cover,
Hey,
but I can't find it now.
I thought it was going to be somebody that said I was crazy.